Pandit Bickram Ghosh is an Indian classical tabla player. He is one of the most well-known names in the world of Indo-fusion music. Having performed the world over the greatest names in classical music, especially with Pandit Ravi Shankar, with whom he played for over a decade, he went on to form his band Rhythmscape. He played on 4 albums that were nominated for Grammys, including George Harrison's Brainwashed. He played on Full Circle with Pandit Ravi Shankar, which won Ravi Shankar a Grammy. His super successful solo albums like Beyond Rhythmscape, Folktale, Drum Invasion, Kingdom of Rhythm, Interface, Electroclassical, Transformation, etc. have consolidated his position as a pioneer of a new fusion sound. He has composed for 36 feature films so far, including the Meera Nair presented Soni Darapurwala. Friends, we want to welcome the maestro in tonight's Star Darbar. Let's welcome Pandit Bickram Ghosh. Welcome to your favorite show, Star Darbar, and tonight we are meeting the maestro of tabla, Indian drums. Yes, the way I told you earlier, we are going to meet Pandit Bickram Ghosh tonight. Namaskar and namaste.
Namaskar.
And welcome to Star Darbar.
Thank you, pleasure.
How are you and what is going on these days?
Well, I'm well, and what's going on is too much to describe in one sentence.
We don't need one sentence. We need lots of sentences from you.
Thankful for that.
Yes.
Let's
please.
go
Yes,
ahead.
Absolutely. Indian drums is a fantastic, I can say, that instrument that the whole world is right now trying or listening, or lots of new things are happening around it. So when you started, have you ever thought that this will be your destiny to take that and just go with it?
Well, I definitely wanted to make it my destiny, which is why I chose it as a profession. There was a point of time, it was somewhere in the late 80s, when I was already playing, and my father asked me, after I had done my master's in English literature, Baba asked me that, what is it that you want to do as a profession? Do you want to be a professor? Do you want to be a musician? And without batting an eyelid, I said, I want to be a musician, I want to be a tabla player. So that's why I'm here, and which is why the destiny has been that of a musician as a tabla player. But I think I've received much more than what I had asked for, and that is why there is so much more happening in my firmament, so to say. And but yes, I'm definitely grateful to destiny that it allowed me to do what I really wanted to do, and I think that's a huge blessing.
What was the motivation part? Like, have you seen someone who used to play tabla when you were growing up?
Yeah, that's like a rhetorical question, because yes, it is my father, the great Pandit Shankar Ghosh, who inevitably kind of, if you are Pandit Shankar Ghosh's son and you are not inspired by the tabla, then you're a wall.
Yes, totally. Agreed to that. So, my viewers, some of my viewers are watching you for the first time, and some of my viewers are really knowing about you for the first time. So I really want to share a little bit about some like video glimpses about your playing, if you allow me right now.
Absolutely, we have some for you, and go ahead, take a look.
play and when you hear those roars from your audience, how that feels?
Well, that is always adrenaline. I think you become a musician for two reasons. One is because you really love the process that music takes inside you, and you love the projection of that music because it empowers you. You realize that if you do it right, you can influence others positively, and that positive influence is what you hope for. And when it comes from the audience in the manner of either a roar or loud clap, or it could be just a simple wah, kya baat hai, aha, kya kehne, whatever, all of it is an endorsement that you're doing something right. And I think that is a big aphrodisiac for any artist. That's one of the reasons that you do what you do.
Totally. But as you were traveling, right, in different countries, different places, and you were meeting so many people around, and sometime maybe it was hard, like maybe like 20 years back, to let them know that what is Indian drums, and from there now it's a lot of changes, of course. So how you feel about that people are taking our culture, our things are so immensely, I can say that, within their heart, that they're trying lots of new things out. So what's your say about it?
Well, let's stretch the subject a little bit from the tabla. Let's move into the realm of Indian classical music.
Yes.
In general. Indian classical music is one of the most sophisticated art forms in the world. It is accepted by just about all the great artists from all the great traditions. They all accept that Indian classical music is one of the most refined artistic traditions. So, being part of that tradition itself, I think, is a huge blessing. But when you see that tradition impact people, then you become witness to the greatness of that tradition. You no longer are part of that tradition, you're a witness to that. I would have to say that the great artists of yore who took Indian classical music to the rest of the world, much before me, the great Pandit Ravishankar ji, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, my father, Ustad Alala Khan Sahab, Ustad Zakir Hussain, all of these people did incredible work to take our music. They were ambassadors who took our music up to the rest of the world. And then the rest of the world sat up and took notice and said, wow, yes, that's where we come in. And we, as in my generation, we've also been very lucky that we stepped in at a point where the platform was already made by these great artists. They had already created that aura, which we simply had to just step into. So I think their work was much tougher than ours. But we had a very, very difficult standard to live up to, because when you go as a later generation to the world where they've already witnessed Pandit Ravishankar, they've already witnessed Zakir ji, my father, Pandit Shankar Ghosh, all of this, you are stepping into that realm where they've heard the best, and now you have to prove your worth. So I think it was a huge challenge, and early days was not easy, and of course as an artist you grow. But one thing I must say, that the tabla, in my opinion, is arguably the greatest drum in the world, and because of the fact that you have two drums. The tabla is two drums. For those who know, of course you know, and those who don't know, the tabla is the joint name of two separate drums, the right hand being the dahina or the tabla, and the left being the baya or the bass drum. And the technique of playing both the instruments is completely different. And the most interesting part about tabla is the fact that you actually have each finger as a separate unit, unlike many of the other traditions where the entire hand is a separate unit, so you only have two units. But here you have so many fingers, and so 10 fingers as separate units. So what you get in terms of the subtlety and the speed and the dexterity of the instrument is really of a very, very high order. So I think that really impacts audiences, especially in the West or the Far East or wherever, people are really blown away by what this tiny pair of drums can do, So I'm very lucky that I am a tabla player, and I am really honored that I have been given this life to play tabla, and have been given this opportunity to influence people with the tabla.
Absolutely. But was there any type of stress inside you because of your dad, because of his name, and as you're growing up? No.
Certainly, of course. That is the Indian way of saying yes.
Yeah, that's what
that is such a big yes, that I cannot just say yes. I have to say yes. It's like a big yes. Early days were really difficult because you are constantly compared to your father, and you can never be like somebody else. And especially my father, who is arguably one of the greatest tabla players ever, And I spent a lot of time thinking that, many years thinking that it's not half as good, But my father came to my rescue and he said, look, your problem is you're trying to play like me. Don't try to play like me.
Right.
Find your own style of playing. And that's the journey that began after that. And I learned the Carnatic system of drumming. I allowed influences from other gharanas, and slowly my own form of tabla playing kind of came into being. Once that happened, like Baba had said, like magic, people started saying, wow, Bickram is
noticing.
Very different. He's also different from his father. He is also, yet today when I've been 30 years into the profession, now I think I am revisiting my father's style of playing, and I'm trying to play more like him because I want to play more like him, and I think that is such a sophisticated form that he created. I want to go there. So yes, it has been a tough journey being his son, and also he never helped me. He made it a point, the day I told him, the day I was talking about it, just mentioned to you that, do you want to be a musician or a professor? I said a musician, and the next thing he said was that don't expect me to help you, because I have taught you all that you needed to know, and I have given you a very good education. Now you must fend for yourself. Do not expect recommendations from me. And in that moment I felt a little disappointed. In that moment, for the next few years, I felt even a little upset that he would never recommend me anywhere. He would recommend his students, everybody. But today I think back and I think what a mature decision that was, because he made me work to get whatever I've got in my career. I really worked it out like any other person. Went to everybody's house, played. If they liked me, they would take me. If they didn't like me, they would reject me. Going through that whole process gives you much more humility, and eventually gives you self-confidence if you make it. So I think he saw that, and he understood that much before I understood it. So he made me go through the grind, so to say. And because he did that, I think you're interviewing me today.
Well, you know what? I mean, by listening to you, I am already, I don't know what to ask, because
you're feeling totally,
because I'm just listening to you, and like a storyboard is running in front of my eyes. So I'm really, I don't know what to ask you anymore. Why not you just say the stories one after another?
I just rattle off. All right.
Right? So
I can do that.
So then that will be much better. But here we go. I have one question in my mind, that you are composing so many tunes and different things. But who is your favorite composer and why?
Okay, so coming to the compositional part of my career, that I think there was always a composer in me. Even as a schoolboy, I would compose simple songs, and I had the desire in me. It was sometime in the late 90s that I started composing for my first album, which is also my band, and which is performed all over the world, and a lot of people know about it, are influenced by it. That is Rhythmscape. Rhythmscape was composed around the late 90s, early 2000. That's where I forayed into composition. But thereafter, there have been many albums, maybe a good 40 albums, and then there have been many film scores. I'm on my 35th film right now as a film composer. I think the compositional part is difficult for me to describe because I don't know. I've never been trained formally in film composition or in any kind of composition for that matter. I cannot even write music. I do it in a very. It's a system in my own way, but I use a dictaphone and I compose the music and then I hand it out. But it's not. I don't write it down. So it's very difficult for me to say that I was. This is how I trained as a composer. I didn't train as a composer. But I guess people like the work I do and something is there that I'm doing right with it. Otherwise, they wouldn't come to me with their projects. But I must say that I do have favorites. And I have favorites across genres and across the globe. If you say Bollywood, then there's, of course, R.D. Burman. There are wonderful composers like Madan Mohanji. There's Khayyam Saab, who I'm a big fan of these people as well. And I love many songs of Lakshmikant Pyarelal, and I love Pyarelal ji's rhythm sections, the way he composes them. I am a big fan of Pandit Ravi Shankar, who is my guru and who I think changed the sound of film composition when it came to films which were, especially say the Oppo trilogy, but even in the mainstream films that he did, there was something he brought to film composition which was very, very classical, and at the same time was showcasing Indian music with the sensitivity of cinema, which was a very distinctive language that he had. So I'm very influenced by that as well. But I do a lot of commercial work as well. And in the commercial work, I am influenced by Panchamda, I am influenced by others. And then there is there are people like John Williams, there's Gustavo, there's Vangelis, all these people in the Hollywood scenario who I think do incredible work, and I'm influenced by them as well. So I guess as a composer, I really take whatever I can from wherever, and information that helps me, I do kind of take it on and reinterpret it and understand it and flesh it out in my own way.
Your favorite movies that you have worked?
That's a tough one because it's like saying, which child is your favorite? You like all of them. But some of the important ones, of course, in Bangla, there are the Orindom Sheel films, which we are on to our 12th collaboration as music director duo. We've done a lot of interesting work together, very relevant. And then there is, of course, in Hindi, Girish Malik, with whom I did Jal and got an Oscar contention for Jal, which really gave me a completely different perspective on my compositional abilities. When that happened, I realized that I was doing something right, and if we have Sonu Nigam and I composed for that film, and the fact that we got an Oscar contention, I think it made me think that I should take this more seriously, because I'm obviously doing something right, otherwise the Oscar Academy doesn't give a contention that easily. So Jal, there are some films which are important with Shumon Ghosh, with whom I've done a beautiful film called Boshu Puribar, and more. We've done several films together, Nobel Chor, etc., Kadamburi. Then there are, in recent times, there's the collaboration with Dhruvo Banerjee, which is Guptadhane Shandhane and Durgesh Gaure Guptadhan. In Hindi, again, there's Girish Malik's next film, which is Torbaz with Sanjay Dutt. And there's another film which is very close to my heart. It is Sunita Rapulwala's Little Zizou, which is a beautiful film. It won a lot of accolades, 2007 release, and Meera Nair was the presenter of that film. Wow. So there are many films. I might miss something, and I don't want my directors to be upset because I want all of them to work with me. But yes, these are the main chunks of work.
Your memorable moments?
Right away I can tell you, when I in my early days when I used to see my father play tabla, very, very important moments because they influenced my life, you know. The way he sat like a king on stage and with the arc lights on him, and he was an extremely handsome man, much more handsome than me, and he was incredible on stage. So seeing that, being inspired by him, wanting to do more in my own life with music, that's one. Two, if we flash forward, I would say the first concert that I ever played with Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, 1993, 16th of November, I had gone to Brussels to play with 4 maestros. One of them, of course, is extremely close to me, Pandit Tarun Bhattacharya. The other is also, I've played so many times, huge respect, Pandit Vishwamohan Bhatt Sahab. Again, the third person, dear, extremely respected Pandit Ronu Mazumdar, and the fourth is the late, brilliant Sarangi maestro Ramesh Mishra ji. I had gone to play with them in Brussels, and we had done a concert which Pandit Ravi Shankar had come to hear. And that day, after hearing us, he called me on the phone. There were no cell phones those days, landline, and he called and said, I've heard such good tabla after a long time. Will you play with me day after tomorrow in my big concert in the Palais des Beaux-Arts in Brussels? So that was it. That's one moment changes your life, and that happened in that moment. And after that, of course, the rest is history. I played for a whole decade with Panditji and Guruji, and he changed my life. My perspective changed with the universe, and of course, musically, I received incredible amount of inspiration and talim from him.
What's your favorite?
There are other moments later on also. The first Rhythmscape show.
Oh, yeah.
When I started off as a composer and a fusion music artist, which happened in Calcutta and then in Bombay. There were 2 shows back to back, and the response to those shows and this new form of music which I was doing, and it was early days that time, I think it really gave me the confidence that I was onto a new sound. So that helped. And then the film career, kind of, as I said, let's say in Hindi, Jal getting an Oscar contention,
right.
And Arindam's second film, Ibar Shabur, which really did incredible business and became a super hit. And after that, my career in the Bengali film industry really took off. And on a personal front, I have to say, meeting Jaya, my wife, and the birth of my 2 kids, 2 boys, important moments.
Fantastic. What is your favorite hobbies? I can say.
I like reading books. I read a lot, and I do really enjoy watching good cinema, and I enjoy taking a long walk in a green place on my own.
On your own? I mean, just to get that rhythm inside you?
No, it's just to get away from the rhythm.
Just to get away from the rhythm. All right. And let our viewers know that what you are thinking about, like what they can expect from you in future and what you are planning.
Well, there are a number of things happening really. I mean, there's on the show front, there are some wonderful concerts coming up. I just played a wonderful show for my new show, Drums of India, in Lyon, which was the centenary year celebration of Pandit Ravi Shankar, which is this entire year, and many of those coming up really. Guruji's celebrations in Royal Festival Hall, Royal Albert Hall, America, all across the globe really. So I'm partaking in all of those, which is a great honor and a very deep experience for me. Rhythmscape shows, the new band, Tarava, the Drums of India, a lot of shows happening through the year up until next year. All bookings are there. And then I'm playing a lot of classical again, which gives me a lot of pleasure, which has become quite heavy now, suddenly again, last 2 years. Film, about 9 films are on the floors right now. Abhijatrik is a beautiful film, which is an extension of the Apu trilogy story. The last part of Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay's Oppo series, Oppo story really. And then there is Darbar, I told you about. Band of Maharajas is another film by Girish Malik, which I'm doing the music for and also acting in after many years. And it's a Hindi
You're
film.
acting,
Yes.
alright, so that's another part of yours.
I'm playing an Afghan percussionist called Firoz, and that's almost done as well. And then there's the Bickram Ghosh Academy, there's
So many things.
lots of stuff.
Well, you know what, my friends, lots of things, lots of stories, but we have to take your leave tonight because we want to go forever with the Pandit Ghosh, but our time is really limited.
Well, that's like life.
Yeah, it is. But I want you to say a few words to the newcomers who want to try maybe the Indian drums for the first time, or maybe in college they're seeing something different instrument and they are really thinking that should I try it or not. So what you are thinking about them?
Well, first and foremost, do try it, but the tabla is an instrument which just trying is not enough. You have to marry the instrument. It is that that all-encompassing an instrument. It is something you cannot take lightly, and you must. And it is incredibly rewarding because if you sit with it, and even in early days, it is so exciting. It's such a beautiful instrument that yes, you will miss something in your life if you don't try it, but you will miss even more if you don't continue with it and wait for it to give you back what it can potentially give you back. But yes, I do have a little bit to say to the youngsters. Please yes, I do have a little bit to say to the youngsters that please do invest in learning and then practicing. Please don't think that anything you do, whether it's tabla, sitar, guitar, composition, don't think that you can just kind of wing it. You have to get into the subject, you have to give enough time to it, and like I haven't had a formal compositional learning, but I've given a lot of time to understand how music direction is done, composition is done, and I still do that. And today you have to understand software, you have to understand a lot of things, so that time has to be given, that sincerity has to be given, and you must, if you get a good guru to learn an instrument, the heavens have blessed you then.